Seriously, I would like to talk about how we are doing things, I think, very differently in the marketing services area at Meredith. And I'd like to talk about the company, but before I do this, I just wanted to digress a bit and hang in there with me, give you a little background on me, but more important, talk about why I looked at Meredith and I thought, this is the wave of the future. I've been in the marketing services business for more years than I'd really like to admit. I started off as a partner, well, I didn't start, but I was at Bain & Company as a partner, understanding the management consulting business, and then moved on into the digital marketing space as CEO for RGA, and then later at Modem Media, which then became Publicis Modem. I really saw, when I talked to Jack, when he described what was going on, really understood what was happening in Meredith, that this is really something unique, what they're doing here. And in particular, what I think you're going to see is how close Meredith can get to its clients' customers. And I think that is the key, and I think was consistent with some of the other speeches I heard just earlier. I think what surprised me, and I think surprised a lot of people when Jack was talking, is just how long Meredith has actually been in the marketing services business. It almost goes back to the original date of the company, about 40 years, and really in the database space. The other thing that surprised is just how large it is. We're about 200 plus million in revenue, and over 500 employees. In a minute, I'll talk about our capabilities, but I just want to say here, it's really a full-service agency. We have all the services that, especially as Brian was talking earlier, a digital agency has. And we have the ability to do it in-house. Now, let me just share with you, this is kind of our capabilities presentation. As you can see, we have a full complement of offerings from CRM to database analytics, digital marketing, social media, mobile, and database analytics. I already said that before, but I thought it was important to emphasize that. But you know what, honestly, and I've been in this business for a long time, every agency worth of salt has this same slide, and they will basically say we do it all. And it's not to say that the agencies don't do it all, but what's different with Meredith is how they arrived here. Typically, and I can say this coming from the agency world, as a new service is coming on, you kind of morph into that service. You see it's kind of hot, it's important, you may add a person or two there, and suddenly you're in that business. And then you sell something to the client, and then you really gradually do get in this business. Meredith, I think, really recognized that to best serve their clients, they had to go out and get the best in class. Jack went through a couple of this just briefly on the slide before. Made a series of acquisitions, really getting the best players in the business. Now, what went along with the legacy business in CRM of Meredith, they added the digital marketing agencies of Gen X and OGM, got the largest social media agency with New Media Strategies, or NMS, and similarly got the leaders in data analytics and mobile with Hyperfactory and Directive. I think, again, going back to the earlier presentation, I think that Brian was talking about, what's unique in this particular agency is how these other agencies work together. And I agree with what Brian said. Typically, you get into an agency and there's going to be a lot of infighting, traditionally as you have traditional agencies kind of blurring the lines with below-the-line agencies. It's very much set up from the beginning at Meredith as these agencies are brought in, a strict delineation between the agencies. There's also, though, promotion incentives to cross-promote between the agencies. And I think probably the best example of how that works is you really got to look at the client portfolio, and I know that's a bit of an eye chart up there, but every agency has its own roster of clients, very successful with it, but more and more you're starting to see the sharing of those clients, particularly on a fully integrated basis. I'm going to take you through one example a little while with Kraft. We have other clients that I could just name off, like Allergan, Nestle, and more recently Chrysler, which I'll also return to. Now here's another slide. Any agency people out there probably have various versions of this slide as well, basically saying what's the difference is our approach, it's our process. And it's the same common points of consumer insights, content development, channel strategy, and engagement. But really, at Meredith, it is unique how they take that approach. And it's particularly in that first piece, And Jack was talking about that before. It's really on the consumer insight. And it goes back to just how close over the years Meredith has been with consumers, particularly in gaining information about that and building up their database. This is something that they've had just a history of. And it's really important and really helps drive the insight of what we can bring to our clients. Then coupling that with the client's information, get a very, very powerful tool. And we really know what people are doing. We know what they're buying, what drives them, and what their passions are. Now, this starts with really 85 million households and 3,500 different variables. This gives us great in-depth knowledge of how to take target marketing to a whole nother level and how to really build on the messaging. Now, it really is this whole familiarity with the consumers that drives what we do. And it starts with that database, and this is something that seems like old world, you know, going back to the magazine. I'm not sorry to point at you, Jack, when I said old world. You're actually younger than I am. But it's really at the heart of where we begin. And we use that information, we couple it really with the data from our clients. And then we also have proprietary relationships with other databases that we put in, and it's a huge collection of information. We then overlay the information, the digital information that's coming in. I think this is something I do want to point out here, because coming from the digital space, you can overemphasize the whole digital world. It is very, very important, but it's only one part of the equation. You know, that whole, the understanding of really where do people buy, what do they do, what are their passions, is really a lot in these traditional databases. So when you add that up, you have to be, again, very careful of just saying, you know, we're doing digital, because new things are coming out. You know, and you can find yourself being a dinosaur already if you keep your eyes closed, and much like being in the train industry, there's going to be new information that you have to keep on adding on, like with social media and mobile, constantly bringing in that information. Together, we call that our meta targeting solution, and it really drives everything that we do from there on out in terms of our creative, our strategy, our channel strategy, where we think the clients should be investing, and particularly what the media mix would be. I kind of use a term, it's like Renaissance marketing, really grabbing from the old to kind of create something new. And the world of CRM has often been kind of forgotten, but it's becoming much, much more popular right now, especially when you're talking with clients. It's because with clients, you can really talk on their level and say, okay, we're going to help you sell more cars. We're going to help you sell more cookies, and this is why.